Mysteries abound around the world, from strange lights in the night sky to ghostly apparitions passing from one realm to the next. From the Great Pyramids of Egypt to what lies beneath the depths of Loch Ness. From Bigfoot to Atlantis, they are all mysteries waiting to be solved. Join Laurie Phillips, Lauren Smith, Graz, and Billy Simmons as they search for the truth on Nite Callers Radio.
Welcome, everyone. It is January 22nd, 2015. You are listening to Nite Callers Bigfoot Radio, and as always, we are live and unscripted. I'm here tonight. My name's Laurie Phillips, and I'm with Wild Bill Simmons, Graz, and Lauren Ann Smith. How are we doing tonight, guys?
Makes me want to get up and get a kilt on, hop around.
I would pay money to see that, actually. We'll put that on YouTube.
Well, Lauren's clock is wrong.
I thought it still had 10 minutes, and then you're like, 45 seconds left. And I'm like, oh, she's messing with me. And I'm like, oh, my, no, she's not.
Are you supposed to be on bar time? Set the clock ahead, man. That'll make your life easy.
No, my clock is always right in my house, but apparently my batteries need to be changed in that one, so.
Oh.
Mine's always fast, and I'm still late for work. So I don't know what to say about that.
So sorry to everyone in the chat that I did not get the room open quicker, but you're in now, so everything's good.
Yay, the chat is now open. Hey, does anybody have any news to share today?
News? No. I just walked in the door. I got no news. I just got home.
Yeah. How about you, Bill? Any news?
No, I haven't heard anything new or interesting this week. So maybe we'll have something come up this next week that I can pass on.
That would be awesome. You know, it was really great last week. We had that recording, and I've listened to it a dozen times. It's an amazing recording of a possible Sasquatch. I
just want to sit on that back porch with my thermal camera and have a couple of cups of coffee. Hey! Come on down.
Well, be careful what you ask for, because we did that one time, and they did come on down, and then we were going back. So we had a pretty scary event that one time. So
and that one that snuck up on you on all fours that night, you and
that's the one I'm talking about.
Right.
That tried to slip up on us, yeah. But, you know, prior to that, we were going, come on, come a little closer, come. You know, I don't know if they understand what we're saying, but he seemed to.
Well,
and he seemed to be responding.
Having something sneak up on all fours isn't the best impression to make first time out.
No.
Come on, come up and wave from behind a tree. Hi! A little threat.
Yeah. Well, let's say we just made a hasty exit into the house. That was that was one of those woulda, shoulda, coulda moments. I wished I could go back and I would have done something different. But anyway, that's for another show. I guess I will tell that when we have some slow time.
Yeah, I don't know if you said that one.
Yeah, I don't think I've told that. I may have, but I don't know if I have or not. Anyway, we're gonna I'm ready to bring on our guest. How about you guys?
Let's do it.
Yeah. I just want to warn everybody, I've got a terrible cough and my ears are plugged. Just to let everyone know, today I heard someone say they were getting their blood checked for oxygen levels, and I thought they said they were getting their butt checked. That's the way I'm hearing. So I hope
sounds like a bad tweet to me.
That I don't misunderstand our guest in any way, form, or fashion, and he may have to repeat himself, and I apologize for that in advance.
Don't make me wake up the kids. Go get some fun.
It's just like everything is kind of distorted. It's awful. I just really wish I
could
as
compared to
get
when,
over this mess.
Well, we're used to it by now.
Oh, man, that was funny. That mental image is going to stick with me the rest of the night.
Well, I can tell you the after show is going to be a blast after Grass said that.
I know.
At least it wasn't trying to check the blood pressure.
No. You know how they check your oxygen level? They put that thing on your finger. So anyway, it was like the big joke. Yeah, well, now they've got to stick that thing on somebody's butt, you know. They check their oxygen level. And it went, oh, let me tell you what, they got a lot of mileage out of it today. And I was going, I can't hear. And they go, turn your hearing aid up, Grandma. I don't have one, but I guess I need one.
Oh, my.
It's terrible. Oh, yeah. So anyway, well, I know I don't want to leave our guest in the wings too much longer. I'd really like to hear from him. So, Grass, can you take away that introduction, and we'll bring on our Ohio Bigfoot Researcher, Jody Cook.
Well, Nite Callers Bigfoot Radio presents Ohio Bigfoot Researcher, Jody Cook. Nite Callers Bigfoot Radio is continuing the North American Sasquatch Researcher series tonight with special guest Jody Cook. Jody is one of the most active Bigfoot researchers in the state of Ohio. Originally, he was a member of the Cincinnati UFO research group, A.S.K, but realized that his interests were more in the field of cryptozoology. Jody has been studying the Bigfoot phenomenon since 1991 and is the author of several books, Bigfoot in Ohio, Legends of the Grassman, Bigfoot Encounters in Ohio, Quest for the Grassman, Traces of the Grassman, The Hunt for the Ohio Bigfoot. I've got a whole list of books, and this is impressive. Let's see here. He founded the Cryptid Seekers with, I'm just going to say this, Dina, Palazini, and Esteban Sarmiento. I know that. As well as the Ohio Center for Bigfoot Studies. He's the editor of Cryptid Seekers Magazine. Jody is a member of the American Bigfoot Society. Jody has appeared on several television programs which discuss large primates in North America, including the History Channel's Monsterquest, SyFy Channel's Sightings and Encounters, and the Learning Channel's Top 10 Mysteries of the World. Destination America's Monsters and Mysteries in America, Ohio Grassman, Ohio Melonheads, and Devil Dogs. Today, Jody lives in Cincinnati and can be seen giving presentations at paranormal and cryptid conventions across the state and Canada.
Jody, welcome to Nite Callers Bigfoot Radio.
Oh, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing tonight?
Oh, doing real good.
We're very pleased to have you. Oh, you're tired tonight? Well, we're going to try to help you.
I'm working on a new book, and I'm trying to get it done here, and that's what I've been spending most of my time doing and stuff. And this is a good break, so.
Well, we thank you for taking a break from that to come on the show. We're going to ask you to kind of, if you would, later, do you already have a name for this book, and is it that close to being finished?
Yeah. It's.
Can you discuss it at all, or
oh yeah.
Do you want to wait?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think towards the end of the show we're going to address that. Would that be all right with you?
No, that's fine.
Okay, well, I'm going to start out by asking you. It looks like you got involved with Sasquatch research around 1991. Previous to that, did you have an interest in Sasquatch?
Yeah, I've always had an interest in it. I was doing, research prior, to that. 91 is like when I really started to get very heavy in it. I was part of a UFO group. It was Science. It's been so long. Let me try to remember what the Associates for Scientific Knowledge, and we had a television show that we did on public access TV. It would be like the first Wednesday of every month, and it would be a live show. People would call in. We'd have guests and things like that, and throughout the series and stuff, there was a lot of people reporting, Bigfoot sightings along with their UFO sightings, or, a Bigfoot sighting prior or after, which my personal belief, I love ufology and I love cryptozoology, but I just don't think there's a connection. I've never thought there was a connection there. I just think that it's all coincidental, that the two sightings took place, at the same time. Now, some witnesses have said they have actually seen, Bigfoot come out of the ship and things like that. And
I've heard stories like that as well, actually.
My thought on that is, if humans are being abducted for whatever purpose, I'm sure they're abducting other animals also, other than humans, for whatever purpose, and they may have abducted, Bigfoot, and did whatever research they did on him. I don't believe he's a pet. I don't believe that. I've heard stuff, where people thought that, he was, Bigfoot were, criminals from another planet that, were let off on Earth. And, I've heard some wild.
I think you and I have heard the same stories. I've heard that too, that they were sent here as like a prison planet, or
a prison planet. Some crazy stuff, and I've heard it all. But I just think that it's just one of these things where they just might have got abducted, and experiments were done on them, and they just kind of let them go. But if you look at Native American history, even in Native American history, there is some coalition between the both, but I can't accept it. I'm open-minded about a lot of stuff, believe me, but I just don't think that Bigfoot's an alien, because there's just too much, information and cultures around the world showing that this thing has been here for a long time, so.
I've even heard that we're the aliens and that Bigfoot are the natural habitants of this planet.
I did a talk at a school one time, and school-age kids are the funnest to do a talk with, because they ask the most intelligent questions. I've done talks with high school, and high school kids are about the idiots. They want you to make Bigfoot sounds and all this stuff. Just crazy stuff. But the school kids, they ask you. Like the little girls will sit there and say, is the Bigfoot baby look, is it kind of like a human baby? They ask decent questions, and and like one little boy said, because we did talk a little bit about UFOs, in a talk there, and one kid said, well, if he goes, I always believe that we were put here, and he says, do you think that that's why the dinosaurs were killed off? Aliens, or extraterrestrials, shot a meteor or whatever, or weapon or whatever to Earth to kill the predators off so we can exist. And it kind of made sense, but have a school-age kid come up with that, it was just,
That's actually pretty good, because there's a lot of theories that actually talk about that.
Yeah, and things, and like I said, high school kids don't even think about that stuff. I mean, they ask some of the most stupidest questions, and I really don't like talk with high school kids because they go, oh, come on, what does Bigfoot sound like? And they want you to sit there and go, and stuff, and they sit there, and then 2 weeks later you're going through YouTube and you see you on YouTube, doing Bigfoot sounds. Like, no, I'm not. I won't do it, and things. So yeah, but it's fun, but but basically, get back to what I was saying. We were getting a lot of stories, about Bigfoot, and the producer of the show said, we need somebody to really take a serious look into this. They got to be something to it. So myself and George Clapperson, who was one of the co-authors, along with Chris Murphy, on the first two books, decided to go in and look at this. And, we found a lot of history, about, Bigfoot, in Ohio, some of the surrounding states and and things like that. I mean, history going all the way back, to the early, 1800s, late 1700s. There's even a book, a printed book, from 1877 about Ohio, and it mentions a Bigfoot in that book. The first documented, publication that actually talks about a Bigfoot. And the guy's name was William Vanderbilt, and he talked about him growing up in Ohio, and talked about him going from Cincinnati up to Utica, which is a small town north of Columbus. It was just like one road, and he talks about this creature that would basically harass people on this road, and they called it the Budgesman. And I'll give you a little idea about that here in a minute, how the name came about. And he describes it clearly as something between a gorilla and Sinbad's Old Man of the Mountain. And if you look at some of the old Sinbad stories, it describes Sinbad's Old Man of the Mountain as a large, hairy giant.
How fascinating.
So, yeah.
My goodness.
So he describes it, in detail. And Budgesman is a South African word for bushman. And Ohio, when a lot of the pioneers and settlers were coming from Ohio, majority of them either were German or Dutch. And that's kind of one of the reasons why we have a really large Amish population here in Ohio, is because of that. But the Dutch that came to the United States were the Dutch that settled in South Africa. Okay, so in South Africa they were seeing a creature in the giant castle path in South Africa called the Budgesman. Now, there's two different types of Budgesmans. You have the Budgesman, you have the Budgesman Wiki. The Budgesman Wiki is the human, which is, if you ever seen the movie The Gods Must Be Crazy,
No, I've never seen it.
That Bushman is the Budgesman Wiki. Okay, he's the human. And there's actual cave paintings in South Africa of these giants, and people have been seeing them. So when the South Africans came to Ohio to settle in, they were seeing these Bigfoots, and they were calling them Budgesmans. So throughout time, when generations were, growing and, they weren't using their native language anymore, they were going to English, and stuff, talking more and more English and stuff. Budgesman kind of translated into Grassman. And that's how the name Grassman came about in Ohio. So there's a lot of really interesting.
I had to wonder about
history about that.
Who came up with Grassman?
I'm sorry, what?
I had to wonder about that. Who came up with Grassman?
I was the first researcher in the state of Ohio to use the word Grassman in a book, on a television show, and in my research. The very first, no other researchers ever did it, not even the researchers prior to me, the guys that were doing this stuff in the 60s and 70s, never bothered to use the name Grassman, research the name Grassman, or anything like that. And I did a lot of research on how the name came about. But, now, all these researchers in Ohio, the Ohio Bigfoot Conference and stuff, those guys use the Ohio Grassman. I mean, everybody's using the Grassman name. And I remember when I first came out with it, people were laughing about it. Grassman, smoking weed and all this other stuff. And it just kind of really grew on people, the name, because now we have a name for our Bigfoot in our state and things. So it's like I said, it's interesting. There's a lot of history behind it.
Have you ever considered that there may have been a correlation between human origin out of Africa and possibly Sasquatch out of Africa as well?
Well, this is kind of like my theory. Okay, you have a lot of Bigfoot, in different parts of the world. Okay, here in the United States, I say there are probably 4 different type of Bigfoots. Okay, in the United States. So if you want to look at it this way, like how a dog is a canine. Okay,
exactly.
That's his species, but they're different breeds of the canine species. Same thing with humans. We don't call.
Well, like in a canine species, you can also say like there's the dog, then there's the bear, then there's the wolf.
Right.
They're all canine.
Exactly. They're all canine.
Right.
They're all they all have some connection there. So you take the human species. We don't call them breeds. We call them races. Okay,
yeah.
So there are different races of the human species. Okay, so why wouldn't they in the Bigfoot? Why wouldn't they have, instead of races, but breeds, different breeds? I mean, if you look at the eastern Bigfoot, his typical size is between 6 and 7 feet. He's a lot more aggressive. He's a lot more stockier. He has no problem making human contact. Okay, when you look at the Bigfoot in the Pacific Northwest, they're extremely, larger. Those are the ones that are going up to 8 and 9 feet. They're more docile. They don't like to make human contact. Those are the ones you always hear about are peeking around the tree. They don't throw rocks. They don't be aggressive unless, they're agitated. They don't make the first move as far as, aggression. Here in the East, ours make the first move when it shows aggression. I mean, I've had sticks, I have rocks, I've had stuff, branches and stuff, thrown at me, grunts and growls and things like that. So when you look at, like, the skunk ape, that's a completely different, breed of Bigfoot. And if you look at, in Texas and Louisiana, you have another different type of species because, you're looking at 5-toe, you're looking at, 4-toe, and sometimes even 3-toe. But, some other theory is that if it's less than 5 toes, it's inbreeding. Well, it could be, okay, but it also could be a different breed of Bigfoot, that just may only have 3 toes, or he may have more than 3 toes, but only 3 show up in a track, or 4 toes, maybe the baby toe is a lot smaller, something to that point. So, it's the same thing when you look at different breeds of Bigfoot, around the world. Now, the Yeti, I believe, and this is, like I said, this is my opinion, I think the Yeti is an ape. I think that because he's a lot different than most of the different Bigfoots and things, I believe that, he is the evolved Gigantopithecus. Okay. Is what I believe he is. When you look at the Yowie, even the Yowie, he's completely different from what most Bigfoot look like. The Amiska in Russia, he's completely different. So why wouldn't it be different breeds of this? Now, to get back to what you're saying is, could Bigfoot evolved in Africa just like the human did and move into Europe, through the anything's possible, because every single continent, has their version. Africa, just about every single nation in Africa, in that whole continent, has some type of Bigfoot creature, because they know what a gorilla looks like, they know what an ape looks like, but this thing is different, and they know it. And like they found in the Congo, they found over 2,000 gorillas in the Congo, along with a different breed of chimpanzees. And these are different breeds of the ones that are in Uganda. These are totally different breed, so why wouldn't they be different breeds of Bigfoot?
Yes. That is fascinating. Okay, you were mentioning the 4 different. Would you consider it races or species?
It's a species of its own. Okay. It's a primate. Okay, just like a human's a primate. Gorilla, chimpanzee, and orangutan are the 4 main primates. We are just the smartest of the species. We evolved. A chimpanzee is the closest, to a human. It's proven that chimpanzees, they grieve. They can die from grief. They're very social animals. The chimpanzee is the only other primate other than human that will kill. Just not for food, but just out of anger will kill. No other primate does that. But there's a lot of human characteristics that are in the chimpanzee, and they're probably
genetically they're very close to us. I think it's like they're one allele off or something like that.
It's less than the gene structure is less than 2%. It's like 1.5% difference between us and them. And stuff. They're very smart animals. So. Who's to say that the Bigfoot who is probably between human and the ape, and he just went off on its own, in the tree line. I believe that he definitely has some human trait to him somewhere, or human genes, in there. You would have to be crazy not to think so. If you look at the Patterson film,
yes.
and you look at Patty, you can see both human and ape traits in there. The buttocks is a perfect example. That is a human trait. Gorillas, chimpanzees, orangutans, they don't have butts. That's why they, are bipedal animals. They can't stand erect because they don't have that muscle to keep them to stand erect. Patty has one. That's why she's able to stand erect and walk on 2 feet. The foot is a human trait. Her breast, that's a human trait. Her facial features, human trait.
Yes.
In the rest of her body, the long arms, the hair, the bulkiness of the body, the satchel crust on the head, those are the ape traits. So they, it's got to be something to it. But in Native American culture, every single tribe that has dealt with, some type of Bigfoot has always believed that he's a Native American. He is an Indian. He's considered a tribe within the culture.
And I've always heard that too, that the First Nations people have always considered them neighbors, brothers, family, basically. We have a question from the chat. New Hampshire Squatch wants to know, could you ask the guest what he thinks of these giant skeletons and Bigfoot, and is there a connection, please?
The thing with the giant skeletons, like here we have Fort Ancient here in Cincinnati, a little bit north of Cincinnati, and there's a Native American museum that sits on that land, and they have, the burial mounds and stuff, and they have found large skeletons there. The city of Louisville, when it was being built, they found large skeletons. Are they a tribe of people or are they Bigfoot? From my research, no one has really ever seen the skeletons, because this is something that has always been very hush-hush and quiet up. There's a lot of photographs out there, of, the giant mummies and the skeletons and things like that, and you have to wonder if what you're seeing is actually real or not. Because this is just something, science doesn't want to talk about. Science doesn't want to, show that there was a different race, that was here. We're having an issue here in Ohio. We have Serpent Mound, which is a large snake mound. It looks like a snake. Well, they have always thought that the Native Americans made it. And when they were doing some excavation there, they found all this pre-Celtic stuff, meaning that it was made by the Vikings. So, so that's creating a lot of turmoil. You got people, people saying, well, no, the Native Americans made it, but physical evidence shows Native Americans never did. It was something that was made by the Vikings, and stuff. So, like I said, there's just a lot of controversy, but these skeletons and stuff, it's hard to say because I believe that some, but not all, are probably Bigfoot. Here's my theory. If I had when it comes to big, skeleton of Bigfoot, if I had $1 million to go to Vegas, okay, and play, I would bet the whole $1 million that somewhere in the Smithsonian, in the crate, under steps, or in a basement, or something like that, is the remains of a Bigfoot. I would almost put money on it. The Smithsonian is still cataloging stuff from paper to computer. It's going to take a very long time for them to get done with this. And the Smithsonian only puts out a specimen if they have more than one. If they don't have more than one, it sits in a crate until someone finds it, something to match it up with. So, that's why I really believe that, there is a skeleton somewhere, and it's most likely going
There's
to be.
There's always been that legendary story about all the large bones were sent to, the large skeletons were sent to the Smithsonian, and then they mysteriously disappeared.
I don't
Well, they've got plenty of examples of that over the years back, especially from the 1850s through on turn of the century, that they would call an archaeologist in to look at them, and the bones would disappear. You're talking about dozens of them.
Right. The whole thing, one thing when I learned about, ufology, when I was in ufology, is that, the government didn't want you to know about the truth about UFOs because they felt we couldn't handle it. They felt it would destroy religion and things like that.
Same with these.
I'm sorry?
It's the same with these skeletons. They don't.
And it's not. Because the thing of it is, every body knows that there's ghosts. Okay, I think everybody at one time or another had some type of paranormal experience, or knows somebody that had a paranormal experience. When it comes to UFOs, you would have to be totally a moron to think that we're the only intelligent species in the universe. So if the government came on TV today and said, look, Barack Obama comes on TV and says, listen, UFOs exist. They've been coming, studying our planet. We have a couple ships that went down. We have some bodies. At this point, we feel there's no threat to us, but if they are, we'll be able to protect the planet. You know what? You're going to wake up tomorrow morning. You're going to, go to work. You got something to talk about for maybe 2 weeks before something else happens, and to pick up something new. You're still going to take your kid, to play basketball and watch them. You're still going to go out to eat. Your life's not going to change. You're not going to start hoarding food, buying guns, and go off the grid. It just isn't going to happen because people already know deep in their mind that they already exist. It's just they got the confirmation, so they're at ease now. The fact of the matter is, can the government protect us? I wouldn't put money on it, But when it comes to Bigfoot, why would the government be interested in Bigfoot? Okay, the FBI has 2,000 plus classified documents on Bigfoot. Okay, 2,000. Okay, I was reading a thing on Facebook where this Bigfoot researcher, apparently the federal government came in and took all of his, research. Okay, which I really laugh because I think that's bull, because the FBI, really helped out a lot with some of the research I did, and they were very open-minded about it. They had no problem giving me information, and talking to me,
Really, that is interesting.
Yeah, and the federal government, there's grants out there that you can get grants from the federal government for money for research on Bigfoot and the paranormal. Okay.
Oh, my goodness.
So why would, the government come and take somebody's research? It just doesn't make any sense when the government offers grants for you to do your research. Okay. And it's just, the only main thing would be is that the logging industry. Okay. There would be a lot of money, that would be lost.
And the oil and gas industry as well, because
right.
they're moving into remote areas.
Exactly. It goes like this. Let's say, hypothetically, mermaids existed, and they just happened to find their breeding population where they go get all the crabs in Alaska. Okay, all the king crabs, like in that show Deadliest Catch. Okay, let's say that's where they found the breeding. Okay, so look at all that money that's going to be lost. Okay, and a lot of people are going to be angry. So what do humans do? They do what they do best. They go off and they kill the threat, that, threatens their happiness over the almighty dollar. Okay, they will just kill the breed off. True. And it's the same thing with Bigfoot. The logging industry would probably hire guns to go and just take their ass out. Okay, because they don't want money to be lost.
Nope.
So
sounds like an M.K. Davis theory to me.
Yeah, I don't even don't go there. Don't go there.
Digger Dog has a question for you, and after that, we're going to go ahead and go to footers.
Okay.
Digger Dog wants to know the 2,000 classified documents. Where did you find this out?
I wrote them under the Freedom of Information Act on Bigfoot.
Freedom of Information. Okay.
Yeah. And I got 22 documents of blacked out, garbage. Literally.
Sort of like the Blue Book.
Yeah.
When by the time we got hold of the Blue Book, it was the same way.
Right.
All marked
and
out.
Here's, and they'll send you a cover letter, okay, telling you here's the 22 documents, and it states right in there there's 2,000 plus documents that are considered classified and cannot be released. Okay, so I would keep writing it back. Well, why? Under the Freedom of Information Act, what is the national security purpose, and stuff like that. And, at one point they were really getting nasty about it, saying, listen, you just need to stop. Okay? And then I get a letter from one guy from the FBI says, okay, if you have any questions, call me. I'm the relations person, there. So I called him, and he says, you have to understand, we're not looking for Bigfoot. Okay? And I said, I didn't think you would because that's not your job, but you have classified documents. And he goes, let me put it to you this way so you have a better understanding. why we have classified documents is we have agents in the field. Some of these agents are undercover. We can't release their names. We have sites that are classified. We can't release that information. And that's fine. You know, I believe in national security. That's fine with me. I don't want to put any special agent's life in danger or anything like that. And he goes on and he says, well, you know, these agents, they're dedicated agents. You know, they're very good trained. So when they make their report out, they put everything they see. And in some cases, they may see a Bigfoot, and they put it in the report. Or a Bigfoot was on some type of federal property, and it's in the report. You know, things like that, which makes sense, okay, why this stuff is classified. You know, and you don't want to put people's lives in danger, and you don't want to put the country in danger, you know, just to find proof. You know, and so
you don't want to affect the tourism.
Right.
And wildlife.
You know, well, terrorism wasn't a really big thing at the time because this was all back in the 90s, you know, when all this, took place. And, you know, and I accepted it, and I said, you know, hey, that's cool. But I said, see, the files are called serials, okay, with an S, okay, and it comes like serial 1, serial 2, serial 3, serial 4, and when it got to serial 4, it said missing. So you had a whole file that was missing. And I asked, I said, okay, you know, how do you have a whole file that's missing? And he goes, well, they do, let me if I can pronounce the word right, sterilization of files, where they just go and destroy files after so many years and stuff like that, and they don't mean anything anymore. And I said, well, you know, or he goes, or it's just got lost. And it's like, well, how do you lose a file? So, you know, and every single file had something in it except serial number 4. So, and I knew, you know, back in the 60s, you know, there was an incident that happened at the Smoky Mountains where a young boy came up missing. And there was 3 eyewitnesses that said they saw a Bigfoot carrying a little boy. And to this day, there's still a $25,000 reward for information on this kid. Okay?
Wow.
So, and the FBI was involved in this case because we had a missing child on federal property. So, and we do know that Green Berets, and at the time, Green Berets were called Green Berets. Now they're called Special Forces, were sent in to look for this child, okay, with weapons, which is against federal law to put U.S. troops on the ground with live ammunition to do an operation if it's not wartime, to protect the country. Okay, so that was federal. That was one federal law that got broke right there. Okay, So they were out for a week. They came back. Well, the father found out that there was witnesses, and you know, he actually got a hold of the witnesses to talk to him. The witness says the FBI told us not to talk to you, but he goes, "I'm a father, you're a father, and I'm going to tell you what I saw." So he goes to the FBI, asks the FBI, "Hey, what happened to my kid?" Okay, and they said, "Well, there was a witness, you know, and that saw the kid and stuff, you know, with this creature, and why didn't you tell me?" The FBI says, "Well, we didn't think there was a connection at the time, so we kept it from you." Well, the most interesting thing about this case is that the FBI agent committed suicide, you know, about 2 weeks later. Okay, which was kind of odd, you know.
Do you think it was really suicide?
Probably not. But
yeah, I didn't think so either.
So we, you know, there was an actual FBI agent that was involved. The U.S. Forestry Service was involved. They were not allowed to go on the hunt. The search and rescue teams were not allowed to go on the hunt when the Special Forces team, you know, when the Green Berets came in. So if the FBI was involved, there would be a report. So where's that report? Either it's under, you know, in the 2000 classified documents, or it was in serial number 4. And they were releasing it. So,
yeah.
You know, so that answers his question.
It sounds like that report got sterilized.
Yeah. Hey, we were going to do this show on mysteries and monsters, okay? About,
but I'm going to have to ask you to hold that, okay, Jody, if you don't mind, because we are running behind schedule here. We need to go ahead and go with footers. So if you will, just take a break and get you a glass of water, and you're doing wonderful. And we'll be back in just a few moments. Somebody run that.
Hello, this is Walter Cronkite, and this is the way it is. Now, with Lauren Smith and Footers in the Field.
Hello, everyone. This is Lauren, and it's time for your weekly dose of Footers in the Field. This week's Footers is titled, Bigfoot Isn't Just a Mythic Figure, He's an Investment Opportunity. I'm sure that pretty much everyone has read this, but that's okay. Startups are famous for setting big, hairy goals, but Tom Biscardi wants to catch Sasquatch and is planning an initial public offering to fund the hunt. Mr. Biscardi and his partners hope to raise as much as $3 million by selling stock in Bigfoot Project investments. They plan to spend the money making movies and selling DVDs, but are also budgeting $113,805 a year for expeditions to find the beast. Among the company's goals, according to its filings with the Securities and Exchange Commission, they want to capture the creature known as Bigfoot. Investment advisors caution that this IPO may not be for everyone. For starters, it involves DVDs, a dying technology, says Kathy Boyle, the president of Chapin Hill Advisors. Then there's the Sasquatch issue. She reckons only true believers would be interested in such a speculative venture. This would be the kind of thing where if you really believed in Bigfoot, or you thought there really was a Bigfoot, and you actually had some money to burn and wanted to play with this, then go for it. She says, a lot of ifs. It turns out the IPO does not have many fans in the Bigfoot community either. Purists are chafing as what they see as a crass commercialization of a serious pursuit. Mr. Biscardi has trumpeted a number of Bigfoot sightings and captures that didn't pan out, and is a controversial figure among Bigfoot enthusiasts. I want to go ahead and say I did not write this, I'm reading. Okay. I'm sorry. Mr. Biscardi, hold on, I'm going to go ahead and skip that part. It talks about his incident in Georgia, and when asked about the incident, he says that he had been deceived. But that hasn't quieted skeptics in the community, who said that they were astonished the Georgia debacle did not put an end to his pursuit of Bigfoot. None of this is a concern of the Securities and Exchange Commission, which explicitly doesn't worry about things like whether there is in fact a Sasquatch, which vets its IPOs. The SEC said it doesn't comment on specific companies and filings, but in 2013, in an investor bulletin, the agency said its staff does not evaluate the merits of any IPO or determine whether an investment is appropriate for any investor. Instead, its efforts are focused on making sure the companies comply with SEC disclosure requirements and accounting rules. So I'm just going to stop there. The article goes on to note that some Bigfooters are appalled at this, listing hosts from another big show and a couple other researchers and that aren't too happy about this. What do you guys think?
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised to see it on late night infomercials. I mean, it's the same. I'm not going into my feelings on Mr. Biscardi here. But he's for a buck,
He's very controversial. He sure is.
Oh, I don't know that he's controversial. I think everybody agrees on their opinions about Mr. Biscardi. Mr. Discardi, I call him.
Well, we're trying to be nice here.
Trying, operative word.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't get that memo.
Oh.
Great mail, Grass.
Or everybody involved with the
Thanks,
refrigerator
Lauren.
incident.
I just love all the comments. Usually on these articles, I read the article and then I go straight to the comments just to see what the skeptical public is saying, and it's like, why are the only photos of Bigfoot so grainy and blurry? And I'm just like, well, if you can get him to hold still while you take a photo, you go ahead and do that. It's like the exact same thing every time. That's all anyone ever says to me when I mention Bigfoot. They're like,
in the name of love. So I can take your picture now.
Or if you can take a good photo in the middle of a heart attack while you're trying to survive from seeing one.
Definitely. It's just, it's so funny to me.
No.
Yeah.
All right. I want to switch some gears a little bit, Mr. Jody.
Yeah.
We were talking about Bigfoot in America and out of Africa and how it got here, the different species and everything like that. I'm one of the proponents that don't go along with the out of Africa kind of model. And some of the graves were possibly in America. Some of the graves were, there's some Indian legends about giant white people, red hair, throughout America too. So some of the mounds could have been involved in some of that kind of thing. I kind of believe that Bigfoot is more of a separate species, just like all of them around the world. There are different species of monkeys all around the world that couldn't have done the out of Africa model themselves. So why would Bigfoot?
I agree with you. I mean, I don't believe Bigfoot came out of Africa. Okay, what I was trying to say is that it's a possibility because we do know that there is a species of Bigfoot in Africa. Okay, right. Just like there is in Australia, just like there is in Europe, in North America. Okay, but at one time we all know the continents were all connected. So
the Pangea model, yeah.
Right, so they could have came from anywhere. No one really knows the origin. I was reading something a while back that they found the remains of a skeleton of some type of pre-human or ape or whatever came out of China that predated Lucy. Okay, out of Africa. So I mean, no one knows where it really came from. I just think we were all scattered, one way or another, across the world. But like I was saying, I honestly don't think it exactly came out of Africa. I'm just saying there's just a possibility that, the ones that were there in Africa could have migrated, across Europe, North America, and stuff. And that's why you have different breeds, of these Bigfoot. I've heard things about the giant
model if the Pangea model actually is correct, then you would have basically everything on one continent, and the continents are splitting. These species are basically evolving on their own on these separate continents from an original basic kind of source, but they went in their own directions, just like Darwin's birds. We're on different islands. They're the same basic species, but they evolved into different directions.
Right. It's the same thing. If dinosaurs lived today, okay, they would not look the same today as they did 65 million years ago, okay, because of evolution, okay. If you take, the stuff that's coming out of Congo, okay, you have an area that's isolated, okay, and probably hasn't changed since, 65 million years ago. So if Mekele-Bembe, the dinosaur that's been sighted there, which is a brontosaurus type creature, but much smaller, he probably didn't change because his environment did not change. His environment stayed. Okay, so if your environment, I was reading this, that if your environment doesn't change, the species doesn't change. If the environment changes, then the species will evolve to adapt, the new environment, and that will probably change his whole structure of the way he looks and things. But if his environment doesn't change, he's probably going to stay the way he looks.
And then you have a catastrophism model where things are wiped out, species are wiped out, and then they evolve from the ones that survive evolve from different ways because competition is gone, blah, blah, blah. There's just It's just too messed up to actually find a model that, like these Smithsonianists, want to keep. They're in a static Earth model where everything started from zero and worked its way up a branch, and they can't seem to get away from that.
Yeah, and it's most likely it's not. See, the thing about science, science is two-faced. They're ignorant, and they're one-minded. They are not open like they're supposed to be. Okay, and science doesn't want to be wrong. They said this is what it is and this is what it is. It's the same thing now with Pluto. Remember when they took Pluto off saying it wasn't a planet and they got rid of it? Now they're coming back saying it is. Okay, and stuff. So Pluto's getting put right back on the list again. As
I'm confused.
As a planet. So
who's in charge?
Right. So and it goes to that, and it's this crazy science. I mean, if Bigfoot is ever found, this is my true belief, if Bigfoot is ever found, science is going to classify it as something other than what it is, because they don't want to be wrong.
Right.
They don't want to be wrong. They're going to classify it as something other than what it is. Now,
they're going to try to put it on the branch, on the tree someplace, just like they've done everything
this
else.
Is our missing link, or this is,
or it's way off the left near the gorillas.
Right. It's an ape. They're going to say it's an ape. It's a North American ape, and they'll come up with some crazy, stupid stuff, because they don't want to tell the truth of what it is. Another misconception is, I can't say it's a misconception, migration. Okay, I do believe Bigfoot does migrate. Okay, but animals normally don't migrate. Okay, unless the food population, their food supply is gone, their water supply is gone, the environment changes. That's why animals migrate. In Africa, they migrate because they don't want to drown when the rains come. And when the rain season's over, they migrate back. The thing of it is, if you take the human species, okay, majority of every single human, okay, normally lives within 10 miles, 1 to 10 miles of where they were born. Okay, they stay where they're from. Okay, most humans only leave the area either for financial purposes, the environment changed, catastrophe or something like that, or, their job structure has changed, But most people stay normally within, 1 to 10 miles of where they were born. Animals don't leave, where, the food abundance is. So if Bigfoot does migrate, he may migrate to find a mate. He might migrate because, if there's competition among other Bigfoot, where he has to leave, And what's kind of interesting about that, I have a cast that I pulled out of Ohio, and I was talking with Peter Burns, which is one of the, veteran researchers and Bigfoot, and he has a cast that we were talking about, and he sent it to me, and we compared the two. The foot's almost identical, but the difference is mine's larger than his, but it could probably be the same creature,
That he just migrated from Peter Burns area to yours.
Where it just migrated across the country. A possibility. It could be.
Yes.
But the casts are awfully alike. I mean, they look like copies of each other, except one's a little bit larger than the other one is. And it's of the same foot, which is kind of interesting. So, but as far as like the giants with the red hair, I've heard theories about that and things. I've always thought those were, Vikings that might have stayed, that were here and things. I mean, it could be anything. I mean, they could have been a race of people, and things that lived here long before, we got here. I mean, the whole theory, I've even heard the reason why Bigfoot is in the United States, because the Chinese, when they came and discovered America, allegedly, before the Vikings, before Columbus, that they had these Yurans, which is the Chinese Bigfoot, there with them, and they released them, away from their country and released them here. I mean, I've heard that, so you hear a lot of interesting stuff,
Right. Fringe beliefs bring out the fringe ideas.
Oh, yeah, but the most crazy stuff is normally the stuff that's true. And I heard you guys talk.
Yeah.
I heard you talk about Prescardi and stuff. I mean, and he's liable to be the guy that's going to find them. I mean, it's crazy to say that, but people like him. It's like the whole thing with lottery. It's always the old people on their deathbeds are winning, $60 million.
Exactly.
Not us young people. I mean, but it's just like the worst people in the world have the best luck. And and the people who are good in the world are the ones that have the most crappiest lives. You feel like Job.
Yes, exactly.
So.
No, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, him and Dyer are probably going to be the ones that's going to find it. And the thing of it is,
God,
and the bad thing about
please.
it.
There's aspirin.
No, but I know what you're saying. I mean, no, don't get me wrong, but I'm saying, if Dyer finds the thing, who's going to believe him?
Exactly.
I mean, who's going to believe him? I mean,
he could have it standing there with his arm around his shoulder, and they're interviewing both of them, and still no one would believe it.
And no one will believe it. They'll say that is the best fake I ever seen in my life. So, but that's how things work for these people.
What would tick me off is if the Finding Bigfoot show actually finds one. I mean, after how many seasons?
You know what? I'm going to tell you something. About that show, and I'm a very verbal researcher. Okay, and if I think you're, crapping in the wind, I'm telling you, I'm going to say you're crapping in the wind. Okay, I did Sightings back in 1994 with Matt Moneymaker. Okay, and this is when he was on his own and stuff, and things, and big Bigfoot believer and stuff like that. That's when he was at his best, I can say. But how he is on that show is basically how he is in real life. He's a good-hearted person, very good-hearted person, but he's arrogant. And I don't think he means to be arrogant. It's just his nature as a person. Okay?
Yes.
But I don't.
I get
believe,
that. I get that.
You understand what I'm saying?
I don't hold that against him either.
No, I don't hold it against him because that's just how.
Yeah.
That's how he's raised.
Yeah.
He came from a very wealthy family. His father's a very, very important lawyer. And stuff. Matt, went to law school. It's just that's the type of person he is. But he's a good-hearted person. I mean, he as a human being, he's a good man. It's just, he has no people skills. Is the best way to put it. But he doesn't. But it doesn't make him a bad person. He's just that's how he is.
Well, I was talking more about the premise of the show itself and how they go about things, almost like Monsterquest. Or the
the thing was,
way of doing things.
I'm sorry?
Or the Beefro way of doing things.
No, yeah, because I really, I always say Finding Bigfoot is a perfect example of what not to do in the field. Okay? I mean, seriously, because if you watch some of the shows, they'll do something like with, playing a child laughing, a child crying. I mean, hell, I was doing that back in, the 80s. Okay? And then they do it on that show, and they think, hell, excuse my French, but, they're the first ones to ever do it. Or they last week they were using, a drone. Oh, my God. They were the first ones that did it. No, I mean, people were doing that. I mean, you know what I'm saying? People have been doing that for a long time, but they act like they were the first ones and they did it. Another thing is, I wouldn't want to be a witness on their show because they treat their witnesses like crap. I mean, you don't make the witness look bad on TV.
No,
and they do.
You don't. But almost all of those shows do that.
I know, but I've seen...
to be on several different television programs, and I was just too afraid to go on there because I was afraid they'd make me look like an idiot. And I know I'm not an idiot. And
I want to talk about that.
Of it. Yeah.
I want to talk about that in a second, but I want to finish what I'm saying here. But, a silicone blonde can be on that show and mistakenly see a squirrel cross the road and say it was a Bigfoot, and they will believe it. Okay? And a guy can get on there, stumble what he's saying because he had a sighting and he's scared to be on TV, and they'll say, oh, it doesn't make any sense. Now, when they did the Texas show, perfect example, there was a girl that was walking in the woods.
Yeah.
Huh?
I saw that. I live in the Lone Star State.
Okay, so the girl comes out. Okay, she said a Bigfoot steps out of the tree and looks at her. Okay, and they made eye contact. Matt Moneymaker sat there and said a Bigfoot would never come out in the open and do that. Okay, but 12 minutes into the show, they talked to Greg Woolheater from Cryptomundo, who is their friend. Okay, and Greg tells his story, which is a very believable story, and I believe it happened. Greg is a good person. He would have no reason to fake anything or to make a story up. But he's driving down the road, and here's a Bigfoot walking along the side of the road in the open. So how is it that his story is believable, but the girl's isn't? Okay, I mean, you see how contradictory they are on their show. It doesn't make any sense, But you have to look at the show, Animal Planet, Finding Bigfoot, and I have absolute proof of this, okay, and I can prove it in the court of law if I had to. Finding Bigfoot got turned down by every single network, okay? No one wanted it. The only reason why it got on Animal Planet is because one of their members worked for Animal Planet, and they brought the idea, and he got it on to the show, but he had to quit the BFRO in order for that show to air. Okay?
Wow.
And I know for a fact that show got turned down by the History Channel, got turned down by the Sightings, or not Sightings, but the SyFy Channel, and TLC. And there was two other networks that turned it down. So, but yes, like I said, you have to look.
I like backstory here. We're hearing the backstory on this. So it's pretty interesting.
But, Discovery Channel owns, Animal Planet. They own Destination America. Okay? Now, just last week, the CEO from Discovery Channel came out and admitted a lot of these shows like The Mermaid, Megalodon, the Killer Yeti, they're fake shows. They're not legit. Okay? He came out and said.
I've been hearing that. I've been hearing that they weren't legit.
Right.
They
and
look
same
pretty
thing,
legit when you're watching them. They really make you believe.
Same thing with Mountain Monsters, Monsters of Alaska, and Finding Bigfoot. Okay? They said they're getting away from that. Okay? Now, me and another researcher by the name of Brian Seach, we do Dogman research, okay, which is like the werewolf stuff. And, we were in talks with Destination America to do a show called Chasing Werewolves. And it was going to be about doing investigations on, stories, and things like that, go to locations and so forth. And it was just getting to the point where things were getting ready to hit off, okay? And then they came back and said, listen, this show's going to be too scary, okay, because it's a really fascinating subject, but they feel a lot of people are going to be scared. And then they come back and say,
werewolves are scary to me. I'm terrified of
Well,
werewolves.
seriously. I mean, you believe it. I mean, a lot more people. I mean, because
anything
this is
that
something.
keeps people alive.
They even admitted, saying, well, it's one of these things like, you can watch a show on Bigfoot, you can go out and take your garbage out, and it's no big deal. You watch a show on a werewolf or Dogman, documentary, and then you go out to take your trash out, you're looking around. Okay? And they understood that. But they also came back and said, listen, legitimacy doesn't sell. Okay? You guys want to do a show where you're not running in the field with guns. You don't want to do a show where you're chasing, quote unquote, cameraman. Because we sat and told them we don't want to do that. I said, we don't want to find out there's a werewolf sighting and we're going to go do the bow slide over the car and stuff like that, to get to the sighting. I said, we're not going to do that. And they understood that. And they decided not to do the show because, we didn't want to play the mountain monster and Monsters of Alaska and Monsters Underground and the Killing Bigfoot type show.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted to be very serious about what we were doing. And they said, well, people don't want that. They want these shows.
They're wrong.
Yeah, and I said, yeah.
They're absolutely wrong, because people want seekers of the truth. You remember Destination Truth that came out. People love that show because this guy was trying to get down to the bottom of all of these legends. Well, it's the same way. It's like they dumb down the public, and that's where they're wrong. People really want the truth, and they don't care how scary it is. They want the truth.
But, we really do, even though all of us make fun of finding Bigfoot or you hate finding Bigfoot or whatever, we all kind of owe them a huge thank you, because I know a few years ago I would have said, oh, yeah, I have a show on Bigfoot, and people would be like, you really think he's out there? And now, because of finding Bigfoot,
you mean there's more than one?
And I'm like, okay, Santa Claus, he doesn't just appear. But, now they're like, oh, yeah, like Finding Bigfoot, that show, or like the other day at work, actually, I had a coworker say, oh, yeah, my whole family's on the Bigfoot. My father-in-law loves it. And I'm just like, wow.
People are really
I think people are extremely surprised that there's more than one.
They're really,
I don't know why they thought there was just one.
People are really into it. But the thing of it is, a new cryptid that's taken off is, like I said, the Dogman stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just. When we were talking with Destination America, we gave them some of the stories, some really good stories, and it really scared the crap out of these people there. Seriously did. I did research for the first season of Mysteries and Monsters in America. I did most of that, okay, for that show. Season 2, I did a lot of research for them for that show, got them witnesses and stuff like that. So I know these people. I know what they want and stuff, but, they don't want something that's going to really scare the but, that's what that's the interesting part. That's what people want. They don't want to watch Bobo, saying Bigfoot likes bacon, Bigfoot likes raves, Bigfoot likes this. People don't want to hear that stupid stuff. Bobo's out there with, two Samoans, having a pig roast because Bigfoot likes pigs. It's ridiculous stuff. It takes the legitimacy.
Well, it's entertainment, but it doesn't take away from the legitimacy.
But here's the thing. these shows are going to exist as long as we watch them. Okay?
That's true.
Now, most likely, Mountain Monsters, Killing Bigfoot, and all these shows are going to go away because the CEO of Discovery said, we can't do this anymore. We can't deceive these people and stuff because, you know, they know this stuff's fake. But people watch it because it's entertainment, and there's no other show out there that talks about cryptids, you know, or talk about Bigfoot. So, of course, we're going to watch
magazines at the checkout counter.
Right. And see, that's why I put out a magazine called Cryptid Seekers. And what it is, it's a magazine about all the different cryptids, you know, and things. I mean, it's a very good magazine. You know,
Jody, can we pick up from there on the way after we've got to go to intermission? Everyone is crossing their legs. Everyone needs to go to the restroom, but we're going to pick up Cryptid Seeker Magazine just as soon as we get back. All right, be back in a moment, everyone. You are listening to Nite Callers Bigfoot Radio. Woo-hoo.
Woo-hoo.
Love that old time rock and roll. Apparently our chat does too.
Hallelujah. Everybody says hallelujah. Amen.
Oh, all right. We are back with our guest, Ohio Bigfoot Researcher and author, Jody Cook. Jody, did you have a nice break?
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Okay. We were talking about your, let me see if I can remember the name of it. It was the Cryptid Seekers Magazine. Yes. How long has that been in publication?
Since September of 2014.
Okay. So it's fairly new.
Yep. I've got 3 issues out now. The first issue, deals a lot with, werewolves and Dogman, sightings, do they exist? We talk about mermaids, are they really real? How, Discovery Channel kind of did the show and kind of fooled everybody. Talk about Bigfoot UFO connection, The second issue is an all Mothman issue. Talks a lot about the different stuff going on with Mothman. Actually, because I spoke at the Mothman Festival this year, and that's why I did the magazine on the second issue on the Mothman and stuff. Third issue talks about the legend of Boggy Creek, the Falk Monster, the Skunk Ape, the Bishopville Lizardman, Dover Demon, Chupacabra, and things. The
How
magazine,
does one go about getting an issue of this Cryptid Seekers magazine?
You can go online. It's an actual hard copy magazine.
Okay.
The company is MacLeod.
Okay.
You can order it straight from there. It's MacLeod.com. A lot of the paranormal people that do their magazines come out of this, so you can find a lot of paranormal stuff. So it's MAGCLOUD.com.
Okay.
And just type in Cryptid Seekers.
We've covered a lot of subjects. Is there anything else you wanted to say about that? Because I have some questions from the chat. I have several questions from
just
the
real
chat.
quick, if I'm getting the website built up where they can, order from the website, but for right now you can get the magazine. And I'm in talks with like Barnes & Noble, Joseph Beth and stuff like that to get them to carry the magazine. So, but if anybody's got any questions about that, like I said, just go to MacLeod. You can order it from there. You can even review the magazine page by page on that site. So.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Okay. We have a question from the chat, and I had to skip a few questions because the subject we were discussing was a while back. So, but we're wanting to move into. Have you ever had a cryptid sighting? Have you ever had a Class A sighting of any kind?
Oh yeah, I've had a Class A sighting of Bigfoot. I was in the Army.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. I spent 20 years in the Army. I'm a combat veteran from Iraq. I spent
Thank you.
8 months
Thank you for serving for us. Thank you.
Yeah. Got medevaced out. It was really neat because, it's kind of neat because most of the Army hospitals in Europe were completely packed. And so I got medevaced out to Fleet Hospital in Rota, Spain, which was neat because it was right next to the nudist beach. So it was good. So that's where we all hung out at the windows and stuff. But it's been 8 months. 8 months once I got back to the States and stuff at Army Hospital in Kentucky at Fort Knox. So yeah, but I was in the Army. It was we were doing a training exercise up at Grayling, Michigan. There's a reserve base up there because I did active time and reserve time. So we were doing a training exercise up at Grayling, Michigan, and I was an ammunition specialist at the time, and we were coming back from the range, and we were kind of went off road to get from point A to point B to get to the ASP to put the ammunition away. Otherwise, we would have to sleep with it in the vehicle, and we weren't about to do that. So we kind of went off road, and the tree line was getting really thick. And we were in, at the time, the Army had these Broncos, Chevy Broncos, or Ford Broncos, rather, that were really neat, but this is when the Humvee and everything was, just came out, but these were a utility vehicle that you used. And so the tree line was getting very thick, and so we decided to back the vehicle up, and it was about 8:30 in the evening, so it was still light out because it was summertime, and we didn't even see this thing. And when we backed the vehicle up, it moved. We thought we might have hit a tree, because we were kind of bumping stuff when we were going down there. And when it moved, we thought it was a tree. He was probably about 12 to 15 feet in front of the vehicle, give or take. Perfect view of the body. He was about estimating.
Is this day or night?
This is about 8:30 in the evening. But like I said,
okay.
That far north in the summertime is still pretty light out. It didn't really start to get dark till about 9:30. He was probably about 7.5 feet maybe, extremely muscular body. Now, his chest area, his shoulders, his head, if you've ever seen a dog with mange or a raccoon or something with mange, that's what his upper body looked like, because the hair was kind of gone. The skin kind of looks, possibly skelly, but he did have satchel crest on his head, had a high, definitely had the brow. He had a massive jaw. Hold on, I need to switch phones real quick because my cordless is about ready to die.
Okay, sure. All right.
You there?
Yes.
Okay. He had very, very, very human-looking face. Very human. His eyes were a very dark color, blackish red, maybe. I don't remember seeing any white in the eye. His mouth was shut the whole time. Very long arms, long fingers, very muscular, like I said, muscular body, long legs, slender when it got down to the waist. The hair color was like a reddish brown. He made no aggression towards us whatsoever.
Did he just stand there, or did he?
No, he was moving, and he looked at us. We looked at him, and the whole time he was moving, going across the vehicle, along the trees and stuff, he kept looking at us, and he didn't bounce when he walked. It was a very, very glide motion, and I don't even remember a smell, because it was one of these things you're just so much in awe,
yes,
and things. So we watched him and watched him go further into the wood line, and back the vehicle up. I wasn't driving. I was sitting in the front passenger seat. There were two other, troops that were behind me, and we got back on the road. No one said nothing to anybody. As we were going back into the cantonment area, we stopped the vehicle and, kind of looked at each other and kind of like, put this, whoa, laughter out like, we just, we saw something. And we both, the four of us decided, we're not going to say nothing. We're not going to say anything about this. We're not going to report it, anything. Because a few days earlier than that, a couple captains that were watching the troops out in the field do their lines, which is a exercise, you get, for training for maneuvers and stuff like that. And, these officers will go out in different parts of the field, and they'll set up in tents, and they'll stay out there the whole time watching movement, the training and stuff and observing and things. And two captains actually seen one as they were going back to, where their tent was, and stuff. And it was very obvious to say that they left their stuff there and wouldn't go back out to the field. And I remember, them getting a lot of heck for mentioning their sightings, that they had. So there were quite a few sightings of, Bigfoot on that military reservation. And so we didn't say nothing. I never told anybody for like almost, 12, 14 years. And when I wrote my book, Traces of the Grassman, which, is about the Bigfoot in Ohio, in the beginning I talk about my experience with Bigfoot, and that's when I actually, for the first time, has ever mentioned or told anybody the story. Because, most, to me it doesn't really look good for a researcher to say, I saw Bigfoot, because, it makes that researcher to be not so objective about stuff.
Yes. That's the problem I ran into.
Right.
And
so, I didn't say nothing about it, so I kept it very quiet for a long time and stuff. So, but yeah, that was my sighting. And I, at one point when I was at Salt Fork, I thought, well, there was two occasions there I seen. Are you there?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, I hear you. Can you hear us?
Hello?
Hello, Jody. Jody, can you hear us?
Come in.
Okay.
Number one.
Am I here? Number one.
Oh, we're still here. Hold on a second.
Okay.
We lost him.
Did we lose our... I think he fell out.
Yep. He's probably going to try to call back in again.
Okay. I hope so.
Billy, what are you doing?
Just hanging out, enjoying the show. It's a great one. I was going to say, usually it's one of us that falls out, so this is kind of the first.
Exactly. Yeah.
Let's see. What was his prefix?
513.
Okay. Have to wait until...
Hasn't popped back up yet.
Back up again.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a fascinating show. It's not going any way, form, or fashion in the direction I thought it would go in. Is he back? Yes, he is.
Yeah, we got him. Hold on.
What happened there?
Jody?
Yeah, there you are.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the government was listening to us. And
I wouldn't doubt it.
We're all such conspiracy theorists,
I
tell you.
But
Have the other guys contacted you about this sighting, the ones that you were witnesses with you? Rambo 1 asked that question.
I mean, I've talked to them, and things, and we talk about it and stuff. One of them actually got the book, and contacted me and said, "Man, I can't believe you're talking about this," and I said, "Yeah,
yes.
and things." So, yeah. I've only been in contact with two of the guys and stuff. So,
So how are they handling it?
They're handling it as this, one of these things that it was one in a lifetime thing that they've seen. One kind of feels that it was a government playing games with us. I mean, seriously, believes that it was some type of government thing they gave us, or it wasn't really there. It was the government or the Army, trying to play games with us and stuff.
Slipping you guys LSD, so you were all mass hallucinating this hairy
Dude,
being.
I'm going to tell you something. When I was in Iraq, they were giving us stuff out of medicine bottles that had no label on them, and they made sure you took it. So yeah, I don't, I love my country. I'll die for my country, but I don't trust my country, and things. That's what he believes, and he doesn't want to talk about it. He just, I just think he just can't grasp what he saw.
Right.
And everybody
but that's
is
very
different.
Understandable.
Yeah, and people, because it's like this, you can be in a group, okay, and mention, you're a Bigfoot researcher or UFO researcher and stuff or whatever, and people are going to kind of giggle about it, but when they get you by themselves, they're going to tell you their experience, or they're going to tell you an experience of a family member or a friend. They won't say it in the group, but they'll say it when they got you by yourself. And that's how people
are.
Or
when they get you by yourself, that's when they'll ask you all kinds of questions about
it.
Exactly. They're very curious.
They'll laugh with you, but they're not going to laugh at you,
right.
and things. And people are pretty open-minded, because people just don't want to be laughed at. They don't want to be taken, as an idiot and things like that. And this is one thing I tell people, yet what you have to look at, okay? In ufology, cryptozoology, or the paranormal, human testimony doesn't mean crap. Okay?
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't mean
doesn't
anything.
In the actual court of law either. It's very
but in the court of law, it does mean it does. Human testimony can put someone behind bars. Okay,
exactly.
Human testimony can put someone to death. Now, if you take all the physical evidence, let's not even use physical. Let's say circumstantial. You take all the circumstantial evidence for the existence of Bigfoot or UFOs or ghosts. Okay, there's more circumstantials proving those subjects than they are circumstantial evidence that puts someone behind bars or even puts someone on death row.
I've heard that before, yes.
And that's the truth, that's why I say human testimony doesn't mean nothing. I mean, you're an idiot because you saw Bigfoot or a UFO or a ghost. But if I saw you walk out of the convenience store that got robbed, even though you weren't the one that did it, that's good enough to put you on death row because the clerk got shot. So what's the difference?
Yeah. Bill, do you have any questions for been extremely quiet over there. You got any questions for Jody?
No, like I told Grav, I am flat enjoying the guest tonight. I would not know where to begin. I'm letting it roll on.
No, I mean, I love what I do, and I've spoke at a lot of different conferences. I've been on TV, and I heard you talk a little bit about Jeff Meldrum, and the stuff that was going on, money opportunity, and I've never took money to speak at a conference. I never took money from a television show to do it, okay, because I love what I do, and I want to get the word out, okay. Now, now when I speak at conferences, they'll offer a room, or if it's in driving, they'll give you, money for gas, but they don't give me money to speak because I won't take it. I mean, I did a conference in West Virginia, for a woman that was, it was a benefit conference for a woman that was dying of cancer, And after the conference, they gave everybody an envelope of money, $300. And I didn't ask for it or anything, so they gave it to me. And we were all talking to the woman who the benefit was for. She was thanking us. I took my envelope that I was giving the $300 to, and I gave it to her. And I said, you need this more than I do. And as God is my witness, every one of them researchers turned around and walked away. I kid you not. And I and the thing of it is,
it's all about fame.
It's all about. Hey, I was at a conference. And there is a very well-known researcher that everybody knows got pissed because someone didn't recognize him. I kid you not. Okay, and these are the people you deal. These are the people you deal with. I have no respect for any researcher that takes money. Okay, it's like these guys from Finding Bigfoot. $5,000, anywhere up to $5,000 for them to speak. Jeff Meldrum, he's anywhere from $2,500 to $5,000 to speak. Okay, and it's crazy. I mean, there is no experts in this field, none whatsoever.
It's supposed to be a hobby.
It's a hobby. That's exactly what it is. It's a hobby.
A passion. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the difference between a legitimate researcher and a Hollywood researcher. The Hollywood researcher's in it for fame and fortune and money, and the legitimate researchers are in it to find the truth. And that's and you have those two different fights. And that is why Meldrum is getting so much grief, because he's in it for the money. He's always been. I mean, when he first came into it, he wasn't. But he gets paid.
He was in it for the science to begin with.
Yeah, he's supposed to be in for the science. But the thing, I mean, if you look, I mean, the people he's connected with, Strauss and stuff from, the guy from Survivor Bigfoot,
Igor.
I mean, South. How's his last name pronounced? But anyhow, the guy worked for Henson Puppets. The guy was a puppeteer for Jim Henson. Okay, so he can make that stuff, But Meldrum's involved with him because he thinks his stuff's legit. But you know what? It's going to burn his ship down to and sink him over this stuff.
That's what everyone is saying too.
And he's losing.
It's really kind of sad because he was such a
he's speaking for
asset he was the only scientist that we could all rely on.
Yeah, but
support the Bigfoot research.
Todd Standing, that's his name.
Todd Standing, yes.
Yeah, Todd Standing. But here's the thing, what kills me more than anything is these PhDs that come into this field and think that they're experts. And that's what, and people sit there and they love it because they know what they're talking about. These people with PhDs don't know any more about Bigfoot than anybody else. They've read the same books, they saw all the same documentaries, they've seen all the stuff on YouTube, they talk to the same witnesses we all have, but they don't know any more than what we do. They're an expert in the field they went to school for. Okay, just because they're a primatologist or a paleontologist or a biologist doesn't make them an expert on Bigfoot. It only makes them an expert in the field that they went to school for, and that is it. Now when it comes to Jeff Meldrum, when it talks about the foot structure of Bigfoot, with the mid-tarsal bend, he's most likely right. Okay, he's most likely right, but it doesn't prove.
You should stick with that.
Yeah, but that's his field. Okay, so people are buying it. But until you get a Bigfoot, an actual Bigfoot, and dissect his foot, you don't know. It's all, assumption.
Conjecture.
Yeah, and that's all it is. But people sit there and they buy into it. They these guys are experts. There's not one Bigfoot expert or researcher out there that has ever been, accepted into a group of Bigfoot, was part of the group, that lived with them, that hunted with them, that gave all the little ones cute little names, and all this other stuff. Not one Bigfoot researchers, have done that. You know,
we've got some habituators that claim to have done that. Actually.
Yeah, but where's your proof? You know,
right.
Bigfoot has never been proven to exist.
It's
never
all
been
subjective.
proven to exist. It's all subjective. But you know, but there's enough physical evidence to prove the existence. Okay.
I agree with you there. I also have to ask you this. Do you believe that it is the actual Bigfoot researchers, the real grassroots researchers that are getting out there that have brought more evidence, more proof than anybody else? Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah, you're talking about the veteran researchers?
Yeah, I'm talking about the people that are spending their own money and yes.
You know,
the weekend hobbyists.
Yeah, it's a weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, Ron Schaffner, he's one of the veteran researchers out of Ohio that's doing this stuff in the 60s and 70s. The guy, you know, car caught on fire, you know, and stuff, and made the newspaper. But he accepted what was going on because it was a hobby, you know. But he didn't, you know, sit there and go out to make money. I mean, you know, it almost cost him his livelihood, his family, and stuff because it is an exception.
That is a fact of life too. A lot of marriages have gone down the toilet for this.
It has. I mean, because you know you live, drink this stuff, and you know you're out every weekend. You know, and I was like that when I first started.
Me too.
You know,
totally upset.
Yeah, you know, you're obsessed with it, but you know, as time goes on, you learn, you know, to control it, you know, and say, you know, it's a passion, you know, family comes.
Well, you learn to focus.
I remember my husband asking me, "Who's more important, me or Bigfoot?" And I said, "You want an honest answer?"
Oh, yeah, believe me, I've been there. But there's no money. There is no money to be made in this field.
No, there's not.
There's no 15
well,
minutes.
some people can make money off of it somehow or another, but
when you're first starting out, I've seen when you're first starting out, you're pretty much doing the shotgun approach. You're studying everything, you're reading everything, you're seeing everything that everybody else is putting out there, and you're going out there and you're trying all these shotgun approaches. But as you get along, after several years, you start to focus a little. You start putting the stuff to the side that doesn't make any sense anymore. You start to learn how to focus. That's what the dedication.
You become a true believer to a skeptic on everything you look at. Okay, and I tell people that you have to be 90% skeptic when you go out to the field.
And you become more skeptical the longer you're in it.
Well, yeah, because my whole theory, and you know, I did an interview for Supernatural magazine, and I mentioned this in the magazine. When I go out to the field, my research is like this. Okay, I'm an investigator, like a lawyer. I go out to find my stuff, and whatever I find, if I took it back to the Bigfoot court, could I persuade a Bigfoot jury with what I found? If I do, I'll run with it. If I can't, I don't. And that's why you have to sit there and think about it. And that's what, you know, not every single tree branch broken is a Bigfoot. Not every single impression in the ground was made by a Bigfoot. Not every single stick structure was made by a Bigfoot. And here's the thing about stick structures, okay? And this is my theory, okay? If a Bigfoot made it, okay, for the purpose of marking his territory, every single stick structure in that area or within that area is going to be the same. They would be continuance. They wouldn't be different, because that means you got 5, 6, 10 different Bigfoots out there marking their territory, and they're all within the same area, so it doesn't make sense. Mother Nature can make those structures very easy. All right, my family has 65 acres of wilderness. That's where we go deer hunting and everything at. Okay, we had a big windstorm came through, and you would not believe the structures that were made just because of that windstorm. Okay, and I even know for a fact, and I talked to a guy from the U.S. Forestry Service that said that they go out and they make these things for jokes for the Bigfoot researchers. You know, and I believe them. I believe they do. I believe, U.S. Forestry Service, I believe state, DNRs, they make a lot of this stuff just to sit there and play games with us.
That's a possibility. And you hold on just a minute, Jody. Just hold on just a minute. Grass, you were saying we have 3 minutes left. I am seeing that show says we have 6 minutes left.
Well, we got to have an outro.
Well, okay. I tell you what we're going to do, though. We're getting right down to the very end of the show. Jody, can we talk about your new book that you're working on?
It's called Dogman Encounters.
Okay.
And it's kind of like a case book, and it talks about different sightings, across the United States. And I also talk about why the Dogman can exist. Why the possibility is good for him to exist. Talk about that in there. So what I did, through all the research that I've done, different people I've talked to, different researchers that I've talked to, just a combined, reports, just from different states, just to show, they're out there. Majority of all the sightings are in the northeast of the United States. There is some out west and there is some down south, but the large majority of them is the northeast. And there's some really good cases in there. A lot of really good photographs. So that book will be out probably in about 2 months. I did a Mothman case book, which is just kind of like the same thing, but it dealt with Mothman type sightings and stuff. So that one's available now. So if they can go on Amazon.com and go under books and just type my name in, and you can get my books from there, or see what books are out.
What do you think about the Dogman yourself? What is it?
The what?
The Dogman. What do you think the Dogman is?
I believe it is a canine species. Definitely a canine species. But I just believe it's just a species that's always been there. I don't believe that there's a lot of them. It's a species that's been there, alongside Bigfoot. If you look at the history, Native American history, they talk about both of them. And most Native American culture, there's been a lot of sightings, especially in Europe. Going all the way back into, the 14th century. I believe that they may have came to the United States through the land bridge maybe, or through someone bringing them. I don't believe in transformation. I think it's a complete species of its own. Definitely
it wakes up and goes to sleep, a Dogman.
Yeah.
And
it's a flesh and blood. Yeah, it's not transformation would kill a person. It physically would kill a person, for transformation to take place. So, but it's definitely
Jody, you have been an amazing guest. I know we have not even covered 1/10 of what you know, and we've got to have you back sometime.
Yeah,
I hope you'll come back.
Anytime, in any subject,
we'll have a part 2, maybe next month. We can bring you back, and
that's fine.
Because
that's fine.
I feel like we have barely touched the surface here.
I'm curious about the Ohio Melonheads. What the heck is a Melonhead?
Yeah, and I want to know about the zombie thing because I'm a huge Walking Dead fan.
I was going to do a zombie show for the SyFy channel, and it ended up getting scrapped. So I took all the research for that show, and I did 2 zombie books. One's kind of funny, and the other one's kind of serious. So, yeah. So it's kind of fun.
Well, I'll tell you what, we thank you so much, Jody, for coming on the show.
No problem. Anytime.
And, for our listeners out there and those that are participating in the show and those that are going to be listening to the show in the future, you can see all of his books on the slideshow. Also, anything else you want to know about Jody is in the program description. So next week, Go ahead.
I was just say, if anyone needs to get a hold of me, because like I said, I'm working on a new website. All my websites are down. I'm trying to put everything into one. If anybody wants to contact me, they can contact me through Facebook. Is the best way to do it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. Well, Jody, thank you so much for coming on.
Anytime.
We are having you back, no doubt.
Oh, definitely.
No
definitely.
Doubt.
Yeah.
Everyone, we thank you for listening. Join us next week for Joe Del Gallo from, I hope I'm saying his name right, from California. So we'll have a California researcher next week. Say good night, everybody. It's a wrap.
Good night,
everybody.
Bye-bye.